figured out what everybody did and sort of saw the nuance and the sort of niche to each job, that I slowly realized through sort of peer encouragement as well, or kind of them saying to me, I'm never working for you again because I never get to hold the camera and you keep moving the lights, that I realized, oh, actually I should be a DOP, because then I get to kind of be with my little crew, I get to work with the director, hopefully be really collaborative, and really be over the vision, but not necessarily dealing with all the other stuff. And it was a pretty big leap of faith when I took that jump, but I was helped by a couple of collaborators, specifically one. We were shooting a lot of short films together, and I really believed in him as a director, a guy called Teddy Nye. And we were shooting stuff together, and I knew that would go places. So I had faith in our relationship, faith in him as a director, and I just knew that it would be the thing that I would do that would make me happy. So I just kind of went for it, and then nothing happened for ages. And I just kept on saying no to directing jobs because I needed people to rethink who I was to them. But they didn't, and they never called me, so I had to find new people.
So how did you get your first cinematography?
Well, it was with Teddy, and that paid off because he's really driven, and we shot a TV show together that it was called Prue, and it was for BBC, and the commissioner there really believed in the vision, and they gave us sort of carte blanche, and me and Teddy had both worked in Prues, which are pupil referral units. So we had a lot of internal knowledge, and we shot this TV show, and he just said, you're going to DP it, I'm going to direct it, let's do it. And we shot the pilot. It was, you know, there was no guarantee we'd get the show, but the pilot went really well, and then they commissioned us just for a 4-episode season 1, and then Netflix bought it, and then that kind of helped me.
Well, that was it. That put you on the map, didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Gave you your first broadcast.
There was a lot of faith, yeah.
And once you had that, then
you
had the credential.
Yeah,
and that's it's the all-important thing, certainly in television, is you have to have that.
Yeah, how'd you get your first one?
Yeah. That's so personal contacts, perseverance, having just trying something out and a little bit of luck.
Yeah, a lot of luck.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bani. So, Ebba,
Hello.
Tell us, advertising, copywriting, Heineken commercials for the Adidas?
Yeah, big Nike.
Nike.
Yeah, the big ones. So, I mean, similar to Bani, growing up, I didn't know that there was such a job as a cinematographer. And I did want to work in film from a young age.
Just going to move your mic a bit closer there.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, that's louder. I did know that I wanted to work in film as a young person, but I didn't really have any connections. I grew up on a farm in Sweden, and I ended up studying advertising in Stockholm, and subsequently moved to Amsterdam, where I worked at an agency called Wyden & Kennedy. And they do really big commercials all around the world, and that's when I got to meet really big directors, really big DPs. And I just got very, very inspired, particularly by a DP called Benoit Delhomme, who I'm sure you're aware of, who's now become a little bit of a mentor figure as well. And just seeing him work just really opened my eye to the art of cinematography, and it made me realize that that's what I wanted to pursue. Because I've done photography from when I was a teenager, but just stills. And I really wanted to learn more about the art of the moving image, so to speak. So I did a cinematography short course in London, and got really hooked on that, and then decided to try and keep shooting and learn from that. So I bought a 16mm camera on eBay called the K3, which is this old Russian wind-up. Krasnogorsk, that's it. And I just started shooting with that and making little films and just teaching myself about exposure and lots of trial and error, which was great. And then I made a film to apply with to the NFTS. And I got in somehow with this film. No budget, just me and an actor. Found a couple of free locations, and and now we're here.
Now you're here. So, but I mean, and it's interesting because John has a similar but different experience from the NFTS. But it's one thing going there, but what happened when you left? Because you're here now, obviously you have how did you get your first break, your first
Yeah, I mean, it was quite daunting.
paying job, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, I kept working in advertising as a freelancer after graduating because, as many of you can probably attest, when you finish film schools, you're not really going to be the top pick for a lot of big jobs.
Not for long. I mean, the NFTS, you probably have a year.
Yeah, so I did about 8 months of freelance writing while shooting short films and just doing loads of favors and just working my way up slowly. And I had been shooting quite a lot of, fashion, BTS at different fashion shows with the K3, actually. And because my boyfriend was working for a fashion brand at the time, and he actually gave me my first job. Nepotism, baby.
Sort of.
But, we started working together, and these films that we did got picked up by other people, and one thing led to another, essentially, as it often does. So it's been a quite organic.
But now
journey.
you've sort of, you're the go-to person, aren't you, for that type of work, and it's.
Well, I guess sometimes.
And we'll see some of Ebba's work soon. It's very beautiful.
Thank you.
So John,
Hello.
NFTS as well.
Yeah.
I remember you very well from there. But I mean, you kind of really hit the ground running, didn't you, after graduating and straight into films, and you did made some very good connections with directors and actor directors, and how did you sort of find your feet? Was it through contacts at the NFTS, or did you make your fortune afterwards?
It was a little bit of both, I guess. But I basically graduated, and amazingly, 3 weeks after I graduated, a friend said he's got to drop out of a very low budget feature. Would I be up for it? And he sent me a script, and I was like, yeah, I mean, of course, that's why I went to the NFTS. And I basically shot that, straight, basically got the job, and, that's kind of like dream thing to come out and do. Had a really good first year, and then, it just went really quiet because the film wasn't out, I didn't have much to show. And then that's when I met Lena Headey, so the actress. So I've worked with her on a few things now, but she was actually in The Flood, which is my debut feature. And I don't know, we just connected. I think we were in a very tight room for like a week. So I think we just got to know each other, and she wants to make a short film. So we ended up making a short, which ended up getting nominated for a BAFTA. So it got a bit of hype, and they wanted to make, again, a very small budget feature, say like sub $1 million. But then COVID happened, so it got pushed, and so we shot that a year and a half ago, and it's still waiting to come out. But it's just been like kind of a roller coaster.
But in the meantime, you've done quite a lot of high-profile television work as well.
Yeah, so I've done a couple of pilots, so and obviously constantly interviewing, as we probably all are.
So, for example, Dreaming Whilst Black.
Yes.
Which was the Emmy-nominated TV pilot. How did that come about?
That was all very last minute, but through my agent, and I kind of read the script. I think I almost met the next morning. They basically, I think, from memory, I think I got the job. Well, basically the interview went really well. I just, I went in with references, and I hadn't been sent anything, and me and Seb had almost the exact same vision, which is like. I mean, it's an important
thing to discuss, isn't it? Going in when you interview for a job, if you could be up against 4 or 5 DPs who've got 10, 15 years more experience than you, but if you come in with just that, it's like that classic thing. If they want to meet you to shoot a commercial about apples, and you have a commercial about apples on your show reel, you get the job because you just tell them, you're showing them what they want to hear.
It was a little bit that, and I think we just had the same passion, energy towards it. We just had the same ideas, but it was a really quick turnaround. So I think I don't think someone dropped out. It's just, I don't know, for whatever reason why. I think it might be just late commission or something, but we had like 10 days from there to, prep, and I'd only got one week paid prep. So it was like really, and they had no locations, anything. So we just kind of got together and just spent like 2 weeks together, and then we shot it in 5 and a bit days because we had to do a pickup day.
And
but,
that was, and then
yeah,
that
so
was you on the map.
Yeah, and it was just I think it was just like it was a great experience. Just
I mean, it's good though, because both you and Bani, it was sort of finding that little TV break.
Yes.
And once you're in there, then you've got that.
Yeah.
Got that credit. And Evelin, I mean, you really you came in really with some very, very strong work right at the beginning. You got, I know that you did an episode of, obviously you did a block of Vera, which, I mean, probably quite a few of us have shot episodes of Vera. And it's a great show to work on, very visual, but very kind of high profile and with a Brenda Bleth in. So, and you can't, you have to sort of be really at the top of your game to shoot that show right and satisfy the producers and Brenda. And you came into that, you'd done one docudrama. Is that how?
Yeah,
so tell us how you kind of found your way.
Yeah, so in terms of long form, I started with a documentary called 100 Vaginas for Channel 4, which did really well. And then with the same director, Jenny Ash, we did second unit on a TV series called Deceit. And then after that, I got Vera. It was actually my second interview for Vera with the same director, Paul Gay. The first year, I actually didn't get the job. I think production or director felt I wasn't ready for it yet. Second year, they came back, still wanting to work with me, loving my photography, and then it happened. So that was sort of my first gig where I sort of played the rookie card. Yeah. It's a long-running show where, like you said, a lot of DOPs cut their teeth on, like Stephen Murphy, BSC, Ed Moore, Cinders Forshaw. It's a well-known series. We shot series 11 episode on that. So it was a wonderful first show to start in. It was a well-oiled machine. A lot of directors, Gaffer had worked on that for so many years. So it felt very cocooned or very nurtured in a way. And then from there, the same year, I came on to Bad Sisters.
And that was huge.
That was a really big step up.
And that's a great example of getting your first job and then landing your second one.
Yeah, there was a lot of luck involved in that as well. I think generally speaking, there's a lot of luck involved in getting a job, and it's sort of a subjective taste.
But that's quite an interesting little story about how that, how that came about, in terms of the luck element. But
yes, so it was American cinematographer Nicole Hirsch-Whittaker, ASC. She contacted me to speak about a gaffer that I'd worked with that she was hoping to hire on this job. We started chatting, and then she recommended me to the execs to take over the last 3 weeks of Block 1, so episode 1, 2, and 3. She had to go on to other ventures, which I did, and that was sort of the deal. I said my goodbyes, my thank yous, and then I thought I'm on to the next one. And then 2 days after, I received a call from the series producer if I wanted to take over Block 2, so shoot episodes 3, 4, 5. So it's sort of, I had the opportunity to prove myself in those 3 weeks, because beforehand as well, I was trying to get onto Block 2, but was deemed not experienced enough, according to my very short CV. But then having had been on set, and they saw me, showrunner was happy, that sort of, they're like, okay, let's ignore, the stuff on paper. She's doing really well on set. So that was sort of chance or luck or...
Well, that's very interesting, actually. I mean, it's because it's coming in and finishing up a block with an established DP who you are under her wing, and you had a bit of a, I wouldn't say a cushion, but there wasn't the pressure of you having to perform as the main DP, but then it allowed you a bit more freedom, and you were able to sort of exercise your creativity a little bit more, perhaps, than if you'd been the lead DP from the very beginning.
I think so. I mean, it was
Sometimes
definitely would not have been ready at that time to lead the whole series. But it's sort of then going on to Block 2. I had the relationships with the actors, with the talent, with the crew. So there was this sort of carrying forward of, I've done this the last 3 weeks. I can do it again for 3 whole episodes.
Well, I think we should look at some fantastic work. What we'll do is we'll screen a little bit of each cinematographer's work, and then discuss, and then go to the next cinematographer. But we'll start with Evelyn. And James, that's clip 1, please.
Well, your cigarettes. I threw them away. Why would you do that? You just calm down. No, wait. I need to finish this. Oh, shh, your phone. Turn it off. Why is he calling me?
What happened?
I'll tell you what happened. The #1 guy on their team. That's who I wanted. You throw yourself against the best until you are the best. And in that game, I was. That's what happened.
For the love of changing perceptions, for the love of progress. City.
I probably should have said that we ran 2 clips together, so there was without a break. So apologies for the jump, and that'll apply to all the clips. But so part 1 was seen from Bad Sisters, and part 2 was a commercial. I mean, Bad Sisters, it was a massive international hit, that, and you were saying that there was a sort of an experience level on the type of shoots that you'd done it was different. So it'd be great if you talk to the audience a little bit about what went into making that scene that kind of elevated you, in a sense.
Predominantly a lot of excitement. I didn't blow up anything beforehand. So this was that's why I think we shot this scene. It was the most fun scene to shoot. So in terms of the interior, they were studio built, and exterior was a little crafted cabin at Black Park near Pinewood Studios. And it was combining the 2 spaces for it to look coherent. And for interiors, so JP's bedroom is a separate set from the living room below, where we see Sharon and Eva trying to blow up the cabin and trying to kill JP off. One of their attempts. And we used a variety of lighting. Generally, all the studio sets were on a grid, so through a lighting control on a desk. A lot of things were operated from an iPad. So there was enough floor space for all the actors to use the space they need and be a bit more flexible with that. And then the exterior, that was quite a big setup. And on this show as well, we didn't operate, the DOPs didn't operate, so it was operators only. So we often had 2 cameras rolling at all times. For this scene, we had 4 or 5 cameras. So there was one on a hydroscope, and we had one on Steadicam, dolly and track, and another camera rigged near the house, which you can't see in this clip, but when it explodes, like a close-up of the explosion. So in terms of compared to Vera or the stuff I've done before, this was sort of quite an operation, a lot more a management position than a DOP who operates, which was fun in a way, very different in the beginning not to be touching a camera. Like it's sort of particularly starting in long form, really strange. It's like, how can I be a DOP without touching a camera? But it's another part of DOPing. But it allowed a lot of space and time to look at the image in terms of quality control, looking at exposure, spending more time on lighting. And in terms of lighting that scene, we had a wonderful balloon, a helium balloon, which I haven't used since, which is very exciting. And we had wires rigged in the forest with some gemballs on it that were color corrected with CTB. We had sky panels on some cherry pickers. So a lot of tools suddenly coming from Vera or something else, which is nice. But generally, in my approach to lighting it, it was still very as minimal as possible. I like to not overlight things. And
did you find? Because I remember my first sort of big job, I had an operator, and it was wonderful because I realized, actually, isn't it great to have a really good operator, because it just takes a lot off your plate, and you can rely and trust them to work out a lot of stuff that would take you a lot more time to do. And did you find that on Bad Sisters, working with the operators, was it an experience that you found quite liberating? Or did you feel like you...
I think both. I think at the start it was a really good lesson in letting go, because no matter how well you communicate and no matter how many references you share, ultimately anyone else than yourself is going to frame it slightly differently. They're bringing their own flavor to it, their own viewpoint. But I think once that sort of got rolling and once you sort of get into it and just trust them, it is liberating in that sense. Yeah. And what I found really curious as well is that we had two fantastic operators on this, and they both were very different in their approach. They both needed something different from me. So it's sort of learning those things as well as DOP, that you'll be working with different people. They all need different things from you, even though they're doing the same job. So it's good, yeah.
And briefly, then the commercial, that was a sort of a whole different...
The whole different thing. That was very playful. That was, we shot that in Budapest, so working with local crews. And it was part of a bigger campaign for the Paralympics. We also filmed a Paralympic swimmer. And that was all part of choosing a smaller camera package that would help, or we could rig a camera to the wheelchair. So that sort of was quite the opposite of what we did on Bad Sisters. Also great lighting setup. So the actual side in the cord was predominantly with the overhead lights of the cord. We had scaffold tubes on one side of the set rigged with sky panels. Some were daylight, some were tungsten to mix. And then the other side of the set, we had some spotlighted HMIs to come in from the other side, so playing with the different color temperatures. And then the director wanted a lot of movement, a lot of sort of energy, as if he wasn't in a wheelchair in that sense. So a lot of handheld.
It's very dynamic.
Very dynamic, just a lot of fun to play with.
And we'll sort of circle back, because it'd be interesting, time permitting, just to find out how that you got into the commercial, how you made that transition. But we're going to look at clip number 2, which is Bani's work on, again, forgive the sort of the abrupt jar, but there'll be a clip from Death in Paradise. Yeah, it is Death in Paradise, isn't it? Yes. And forgive me, I don't remember the title of the film. That PTSD, and a clip from PTSD. So with James, if we can screen clip 2, please.
Morning, Mrs. Hudson. Let me give you a hand. All right, there you go. I'll come round and collect my bag later, all right? No! I'm sorry I'm late.
It's 50 years now since Selwyn Patterson first started work as a police officer. And in all that time, I can say, without a doubt in my mind, there wasn't one single day he didn't give his all to the job. Selwyn.
My parents weren't gonna want for nothing anymore. I wanted to tell my sister how beautiful and funny she is. And I'll be watching over her forever. It's my duty to look after her, and I'll still be watching over her, protecting her still forever. That's what I was thinking, Cody, when you were running off and you left me choking on my blood. I just wanted to tell Camille one last time that I love her. I just wanted to kiss her one last time and tell her how stupid I was for being immature. I let you into our family. You could have been a part of our family. No, but Cody, you chose them. So no, I can't rest. My family can't rest. You can't rest until my killer is brought to justice. I'll confess. I'll confess. I'll confess. I'll confess. I'll confess, Faisal. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Very, very strong work then. What a variety. I mean, it just that to me, I love to see the range of a cinematographer. That's what we do, isn't it? We just, we can turn our hand to one thing and we can turn our hand to something else, and it's really, really powerful. But I got to say, start with Death in Paradise. I mean, that is a juggernaut of a show. It's probably one of the big, highest-rated shows. It's been, in fact, I think it's another story. I nearly did the pilot for it back in 2011. But regularly pulls in 8-10 million a week per episode. And how did that come about? How did you get that job? And I love it too. I think that I've never seen that sort of period evocation. It felt really, really luscious there, and very precise framing too. That was really struck me as well. But tell us how that came about, because that's a big step there.
Yeah. So, Death in Paradise, it's so funny because some people said to me, don't let it be the death of a DOP in Paradise. That's like a retirement job and things like that. And luckily, I never sort of, because I wasn't a DOP and I didn't come up as a DOP and I never went through a camera department or a lighting department, I just sort of had a clean slate, and I don't really have that kind of mindset. Any job I do, I'm one of those people, there's a lot of people that say, oh, you can't shoot this, you can't shoot that, you can't shoot events. I used to shoot everything to pay my bills. Everything. Even weddings. You'll never know I did it. It doesn't exist on the internet, but I did it. And I learned something in all of these places, because sometimes being on the altar right next to a bride who's about to get married, it teaches you about being in somebody's space and things like that. And so after doing Prue, an author who wrote a pilot called Big Age, her name's Bolu Babaloba, she had seen Prue, and she'd kind of seen a lot of the short films that I'd done, because a lot of the short films I did mostly with the gentleman I mentioned earlier, Teddy, my friend. They done sort of really well, but in a niche way on the internet, because they were commissioned, so they never went into festivals or anything, but they got many millions of views on YouTube. And she'd seen a lot of my work. And so when she got commissioned to do this pilot for this show, Big Age, she asked me to do it. So then her producer and their team got in touch with me. And I said yes. It was a great script. It was really cool. And it worked out, and they gave me that opportunity. After that, that was sort of the end of it, and the show didn't end up getting commissioned. But the head of production for Tiger Aspect, she really liked the way that I worked on that show. And a couple of times she kind of gave me a call out the blue and said, oh, would you want to interview for this or that? And I'm, sometimes to my own detriment, once I say yes to something, I don't back down. So even if I'm doing a short film on a weekend, there's not any money, and then I get the chance to sort of shoot a TV show, I say, but I can't do these dates. And I've always just been like that. Because when I was a director, people used to pull out on me and it used to kill me. So I've never done that. And so she called me this third time, and I thought, you know what, I better say yes to whatever this is, because otherwise she's never going to call me back. I hope the dates work out. And the dates worked out, and it was that. And so I'd shot Big Age for her, and so she knew sort of my work ethic and sort of the manner that I deal with things, because we had a lot of issues to overcome, and I fought for the things that needed fighting for. Like I was asked to shoot a night scene in a 270-degree, three-story glass cafe in the daytime for night. And I was like, well, obviously we have to black it out. And they said, no, we can't afford that. And I said, then we can't shoot it, we have to find somewhere else. But for everything else, I said yes and sort of bent over backwards. But for that one thing, I said, no, we have to get some riggers, properly black it out. And so she knew that I'd fight for what was needed, but also, you know, make concessions elsewhere. And so she called me. I said yes. I went and done the interview, and then I got the job.
And then you did 8 episodes, didn't you?
Well, actually, I went there. So I did a Christmas special episode, which is like a 90-minute episode with one director. And then I did 2 more blocks with 2 other directors. And then the DP who was supposed to do episodes 5, 6, 7, 8, who had done the show before, his name's Tom Hines, a really nice guy. He had a bereavement, and so he couldn't come. So they asked me to stay and shoot the rest of the show. And so I said, why not? Yeah, it'd be nice to meet some more directors and just see out the vision for the series.
Well, clearly, I mean, and the tight schedules, you're shooting a lot of pages a day, and you sustained it and were able to really prove yourself that you could shoot a television schedule, but make it, you know, also very artistic. So great.
Yeah, I lost a lot of jobs before that because directors asked me to do jobs, and then the producers and everybody, I'd been like 2 weeks down the process, super happy. My agent's in touch with them and everything else. And then an exec would pop out the blue and say, hey, wait a minute, what credits does he have? He can't do this job.
There you go.
And they'd kick me off. Happened to me twice in 2 months.
Yeah, well, it's great that you kind of overcame that and got through, and you sustained and really proved yourself.
Yeah, with that show, I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to take risks because I'm going to try and give it a fresh look. And actually, I ended up, I didn't know a solitary soul when I got to that job in Guadeloupe, not one person. And a lot of the crew didn't like me there. And funnily enough, I was the youngest DP that had been on the show, even though I'm not that young. And so there was a lot of resistance, especially to the way I was lighting, the way I was shooting and things like that. But luckily it worked out.
Right, I really want to talk about the next clip, but I'm going to move on because I'm wearing my first AD's hat. I've got to keep my eye on the time here, but we'll have time to get back. But it did look, I mean, it was beautifully, that second clip from PTSD, really, really stunning. I love the operating as well, sort of the way you develop the shots and all that is fantastic. So we're going to move on to John, clip 3, John Muschamp. Well, and it's two shows. It's the second clip is Bookieville, the short.
And the
trial.
What?
It looks like you've seen a ghost.
I can hear your heart beating.
This is a special service announcement. And if you're seeing this, it probably means that we are looking for you. Have you been feeling lost? Rejected? Nothing seems to be going your way. Have you given up hope on your dreams and yourself? Well, not to fear. Alfredo's here. To Bookieville. I shall take you there.
What the?
6, 5. Fight is prepared. Fight.
Again, great to see sort of two very differently photographed films there. The Trap, very naturalistic, human emotion, human sort of story, a very emotional, cerebral piece, and then Bookieville is quite cartoonish. And,
it is. Yeah.
But again, great to see that range. I mean, The Trap. Just tell us what that was. How soon did you shoot that out of the NFTS then? When was?
So we shot a short version. So there was a short and then a feature, and it's literally extended. So people seen the short, it's almost a replica of this scene, which was quite weird shooting it. But I think
we call it a sort of proof of concept.
Exactly. It was because I think it was Lena's first time directing, so the short film. So it was kind of, she wants to prove, and then we got the feature made. But I think the feature was like 4 years after graduating. I think, yeah, something like that.
So, and was that through the? How long did it take? It was interesting. How long did it take from shooting the sort of proof of concept to actually getting the feature commissioned?
Was
that quite?
So the short, I
turnaround?
think like I say, COVID messed a lot of things up because of you couldn't really do the kind of. I think they just lost the funding basically, so they had to get it again. I think it was a good 3 years between the two. Yeah, 3 years. And that was constant every few months. Like, oh yeah, we're going to shoot it, and then it keeps getting pushed, and then it got really pushed, and then I kind of given up on it, and all of a sudden we were like, right, we're going in a month's time. Let's go. Basically.
How long was the schedule? How long?
I had 2.5 weeks prep and 3 weeks shoot.
3 weeks.
Yeah, it's 3 6-day weeks.
And then Bookieville, the second clip, that for those of you who are not aware, that was the film that John won the BSC Short Film Award for. Really, really striking cinematography. I was watching it again, and I was just talking to you beforehand about the wide, these really incredible wide shots, and they're so lustrous, and you're able to get so much color and light and contrast and texture in there on a, I don't know, 14 mil or something. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, it was, well, it was kind of just, we wanted to shoot anamorphic, which is, ambitious to go on a short film sometimes. But we, luckily, Focus Canning really helped out, and we shot on the Caldwell Comedians. But we actually lost the LX35, and they wanted a 4K for some reason. So we had to deliver 4K. So we ended up shooting on the Mini LF, and that wide lens is a 35mm, but it's Super 35. So we actually just punched in a little bit. And that's probably why it looks quite mad. And the rest of the set are Super 35 Plus, which actually fits the sensor. So that's probably, that's kind of how we got it. But yeah, we just wanted that kind of wide feeling. It's kind of like I'll call it a PG horror. It's kind of just like kind of a slightly silly film, but it's, we had lots of fun on it.
And so tell me after you, what's been what's sort of comes, where do you see, how do you sort of see things going now? What's your, because you have you've got good representation, you won the award, you've got feature films under your belt. Where does it, and an Emmy nominated.
Hopefully someone gives me a job.
But it's, you've got all the ingredients are there. So how does it?
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people in this room, you shoot something, you're thinking about the next project all the time. I've interviewed for so many things over the years, and you get to know, similar to Bani's experience, everyone loves your work, but you haven't got the series credit or the band 3, or that it's always, you're always kind of fighting to stay there. But obviously lots of people are getting in touch, which is great, and we're having conversations. But
well, that's it, isn't it? It's get in the room. As long as you can get in the room.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Actually having an interview, a couple of years ago, or over the last couple of years, you are meeting those people, and most of the time, I think those interviews went really well, and I didn't get the job. But I don't think it's something to be disheartened about. It's actually meeting those people is a great start, at least.
Well, that's really where I think sometimes people have misconceptions about agents. They think, well, I've got an agent. Why aren't they getting me any work? It doesn't really. They just need to get you in the room.
Yeah, they
get you in the meetings and the interviews.
They guide you. They help you. They help you. But obviously, the people that are hiring you are the producers and directors. And I think for me, I think you can make relationships with directors and get on with them. But I think it's the producers that actually are really important to impress as well. And you should always think about that going into an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. They're spending the money.
Yeah.
We're going to look at Ebba's wonderful work now. James, can we play clip 4, please? And again.
Give it here. Talk to me, Fionnuala. What is it? Did I find one? Is it a shiny little fecker? Is it? Quiet, Noreen.
It's your tooth.
What? Which tooth? Wait, Fionnuala! 'Twas me molar!
You stop with your humming, Noreen.
The tune's stuck in me head. Told you we should have gone to America.
You don't know what you're talking about.
all millionaires they are now in America. We'd have had better luck there.
Well, if you love America so much, why don't I cut you loose and you can feck off there yourself, so...
They say 100,000 men.
I'm dead, snoring! If 100,000 men go searching for gold in America, well then don't you know they end up splitting that gold 100,000 ways? Whereas I'll be keeping my treasure all to myself. Because there's no other fecker here to be splitting it with.
I'm here for Nola.
Well done, Em. Lovely.
That sound was a bit mad. It's not supposed to sound like that.
But it's interesting, two completely different types of work, but I could tell, somehow I could tell it was the same cinematographer. There's something about the framing, the color, the vibe of it that felt like it was very much you. And I think that I can never put my finger on it, but how do you feel about it? Because the stunning exterior work on Into the West?
The Golden West.
The Golden West. And then studio-based work with Alexander McQueen. But how did you, first of all, how did the short film, how did that come about? Where did that come, sort of, was that from fashion or before, or what was?
I was sent the script by my agent, shout out to Casarotto. And I went for a meeting with the director. I loved the script. It's so funny. It's written by the directors Tom Berkeley and Ross White, and they're just geniuses with words. So I was like, I really want to do this film. And we had a good Zoom meeting where we talked about the look and feel, and I'd kind of prepared some visual references, some mood boards, and it was very much in line with kind of what they were thinking for the film as well. So I think, it's a couple of years old now, this work, but the reason why I wanted to show it, because it's a good example when, you're actually creating a world together, and you're trying to, because they wanted this story to be almost like a fable. So, it's got elements of reality in it, but it's very much a heightened kind of scenario, and it's treading that line between comedy and kind of thriller kind of area.
And you just definitely feel that in the lighting as well, especially that the campfire scene there felt quite sort of Robert Eggers-ish.
It's quite, it's, I love creating the right mood for each scene, and it doesn't always have to be realistic. I think it could be more interesting if it's more, expressive or abstract, I suppose. This was shot on 35mm.
35mm film.
Which I love to shoot on as well. My first short film on 35, this was. Yeah.
You shot film at the NFTS, didn't you?
Yeah, we shot mainly 16, and we did a workshop with Billy Williams on 35. And then I know that some students shot 35 for the grad films, but I think my director got cold feet. We pitched on it, but...
So how did it, were you quite economical with the coverage, or?
Yeah, in shorts you kind of have to be anyway, and I think it's quite good to learn how to be restrictive and not overcover, because as a DP I try to kind of yeah, be more restrictive and seeing where are the right angles to tell the story from, or, you know, what is the right feeling that we want to achieve in this scene, and how can we do this in a simple way, and not overcomplicate things or overlight things. I also like to work with natural light as much as possible, so then it comes down to like planning based on where the sun is going to be and time of day, etc.
And a great location.
Yeah, and great location.
But it was interesting, something that you just touched on that I hadn't thought about, but it made me think about it, was even with a short film, the script will go to an agent, and then the agent will look at their clients and see who might be right for it. So, I mean, more often than not, short films are just, you know, friends of friends and old colleagues and mates. But now, I mean, can you talk a little bit about it? Because that's quite a, you know, almost to get your start doing a short, you have to have it helps to have an agent, because the short film scripts will be plumbed through them before they reach the cinematographer.
Yes and no. I think sometimes it comes via agent, but a lot of the time is word of mouth, or someone has seen something you've done and they contact you on Instagram, or, you know, they get recommended by one of their friends. So yeah, it can really come from anywhere, and I think it's important to just stay really open to when these opportunities come along, and yeah, especially in the beginning, just shoot as much as possible.
I know. And so how did you get, because it must have been very soon after leaving the NFTS, you were taken on by Casarotto. So because that's quite a big leap of faith for an agent to take on a cinematographer. So
yeah, and I mean,
without really much. Yeah,
I didn't have any really work aside from the work I'd made at the film school, but their feeling was that I had the right eye and the right kind of attitude, I suppose, and that they wanted to help me grow as a DP. And, you know, growing together. I think it's really important that you find an agent that you like and they believe in you, and you're not just, you know, ticking a box on their roster.
Yeah.
They actually want to nurture you, and you have this mutual journey together.
No, I don't know what, it's very difficult, because, you know, the agent, you sort of need to have an agent, but it's very difficult to get representation. So it's, again, you have to prove yourself, or there's a little bit of luck or somewhere. But I think, and Bani, you're with Independent, aren't you? How did they find you? How did that come about?
I think, again, my naivety helped me a lot, because if you asked anybody, they would say an agent has to find you, but I don't like to sort of sit on my heels. So I just done a lot of research, figured out which agency would be the best fit for me. I narrowed it down to 2. I simply emailed them, pitched myself, and I actually sent it to them first. And then I had a Zoom with a few of the reps there. And then they got back to me sort of the same day and said, we'd like to represent you. And then...
Was this after Death in Paradise? Did you have Death in Paradise?
No. I sent them a show reel, which, when I want to get jobs, one thing I do is I don't just put, create a photo board. I've done so much editing over my life that I always edit like a mood film. So I made a mood film of my work based on like who they were, sort of, and I pitched myself. And at the time, I only had a Peru. That was it. And all my short film work.
Oh, interesting. Great. Well done. I just wanted to quickly just get back to Ebba, because about the fashion film. I mean, they're sort of unusual genre, but they're becoming more mainstream now. I mean, there are there's quite a lot of films being commissioned, and you hear about things in every designer when they even do a stills, you know, photo shoot, they'll shoot a film alongside it, and that's a kind of a whole little world that's opened up. I mean, what's been your, I mean, I know you said how you got into it, but what's been your experience actually working in that milieu with the, I suppose, I don't know, who are the clients? Is it the designers, or is it the fashion editors?
Really
is it who is the, where does it?
Just a little anecdote on that clip. I used my K3 in that.
Okay.
So I have like a few of them, and one is the shutter is kind of mistimed.
Yeah.
So you get this lovely streaking. So I will never.
Well, that's what Janusz Kaminski did on Saving Private
Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah, but this is the
it?
budget version. Yeah. I mean, it really depends, to answer your question. Sometimes you're working directly with the brand, so then it's generally an in-house art director that acts as a kind of director. When I've worked with Alexander McQueen, I'm directing and DPing.
Okay.
So that's also fun. And like you say, sometimes there's a stills photographer and they can direct, and there's also obviously directors that direct fashion films.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of different types of shoots. So it's slightly different from like commercials where it's very kind of regimented and you have the agency.
It's a little bit more free form, but
Yeah.
very, very, I like that sort of mix of art and commerce. It's unusual, but
It's very, it's more, I think it's more free, and you can be a bit more expressive.
And you'll get seen. I wanted to just go back to Evelin, because we started and now, but you've been doing some really interesting work since Bad Sisters, and so how did you translate that level of credit to what you did subsequently? How?
I think it's more on the paper side, where having such a show on your CV helps to give executives or producers confidence. It certainly has helped for me to get into the room, to at least be invited. So definitely after Bad Sisters, because I started out as a trainee, did a bit of assisting, didn't go to film school. I started in short films, music videos, commercials. So then to get stuck into long form narrative, it's hard to get in there in the first place. So then having a show like Bad Sisters helped to sort of cement that a little bit, even though the CV was quite short at the time, having that there helped to pave the way in that sense, to get more interviews for TV series, to be considered for feature films, because you've proven that you can work with a bigger budget, that you can work with operators, big cars, bigger tools. It's just sort of, it helps on that side. Really, that's mostly what I found.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, thank you. I think we've got sort of overrun a little bit but I'd love to just open up the floor. I think we have 5 minutes left for some Q&As. If anybody has a question, I just ask, if you have a question, if you wouldn't mind standing up so that we could bring a microphone to you. If anybody has a question for our wonderful panelists, please speak up.
Hi, morning, or is it afternoon? Have a happy day. My name is Joy Cecile. I'm a gaffer, cinematographer on occasion. My question was to Bani. I would like you to expand a bit more about your experience in Guadeloupe and how you overcame the challenges with meeting foreign crew, working with people that maybe didn't understand you and understand your point of point, and having to kind of negotiate to have your voice heard.
Lighting team-wise, I got really lucky because all the crew are local, I think I say this correctly, otherwise it's embarrassing, like Guadeloupans. And their work ethic is insane. Like, they'll just be standing in the sea in waves holding a 20-foot frame to make sure it doesn't fall over because I've asked to do something ridiculous. And so I got really lucky there, and the gaffer was a Parisian French guy who has family in Guadeloupe, and he kind of spoke broken English, and through Google Translate, but he spoke light, so I could just sort of point and say things and sort of do weird hand signals, and he always knew what I meant. And I used a lot of mirrors, which they'd never used on the show, and so everybody was sort of getting used to that. But I think that distraction kind of helped because I was just doing things so differently. They bought into the vision, and they got behind me. Camera team-wise, it was very different because there's a lot of people that have been there for a lot of years, and it's like their show, and I didn't know any of them. And I could sort of hear them on the camera truck sometimes when I was just, because I'm always there like early, at least like half an hour or an hour just to look around. And I could hear them saying stuff like, oh, have you looked at his IMDb? He hasn't even shot anything. What's he doing here? So with them, I just sort of killed them with kindness. And then at a certain point when I felt like it was necessary, I just said to them, hey, listen, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to do my job. Do your job or just go home. We can either work together. We don't have to be friends, but we all need to be... I believe in like good energy. So unless people have positive energy, I'm not interested in working with them at all. And so I always try to bring that. And after a few months when I hadn't won them over, then I thought, all right, I'm going to have to pull them to the side and have a chat. But the lighting side was great. Everybody was brilliant. And people like Devon, I asked him to come, but he wouldn't come with me because he wanted to stay here and shoot commercials. And then, do you know what? The thing that helped me on Death in Paradise in my first season is that guy over there, Chris Rogers from Company 3, because he called me up and said, hey, listen, this is your first time here. Let's make a lot. Let's push this direction. Let's do that. And we really had the same kind of, we had a synchronicity. So that one ally really, really helped me a lot and gave me a bit more confidence in what I was shooting. And he said, you know, if you're unsure about anything, check in with me. So that kind of kept my head straight.
Good. Thanks, Bani. Thank you. Any...
How many projects do you per year? Can you pay the bills with them?
We'll get the microphone over.
Yeah, I think you could hear me better. And the third question is, how much commission does your agent take on each project? Thanks.
Who's the question to? Anyone?
Please take it.
All right. Who would like to answer that? Maybe one person answers each question. How many jobs a year?
In terms of agent commission, it depends on the agent. Tends to be 10%. I think some take 12.5 or 12.
And what was it? Can you feed yourself?
Yeah.
We all look pretty well fed and watered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like last year was really, I mean, I had a tough year last year, but this year is looking good so far. So, you know, I think it comes in waves, doesn't it?
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, I'm afraid, I think that I see the red light flashing. That means our time is up. I wish we'd had time for more questions, but the Evelin, John, Ebba, and Bani will be sort of around a little bit if you have any, if you'd like to have a chat. But thank you very, very much for such great insights into this world. And you know, congratulations to you. And I can see, hopefully, we can all see exactly where you're going. And you've done so well. And as a sort of, I can't help but call myself a veteran now. I'm very, very proud of you. And congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.